Hello and welcome to Dark Souls Q&A episode 5. I am Alex, or Mont, and as promised in this episode we are going to talk about Jester Thomas from Dark Souls 2. A strange character, but one who has captured the interests of the community. He doesn't have any dialogue, nor does he play an important role in the story, but he does present himself as an incredibly powerful summon for a boss who arguably doesn't need such force to overwhelm. Beyond that, he invades the player in the Lost Crown trilogy, and he doesn't go down without a good fight. Especially considering that he wields no weapons, no shield, and very strange armour. But then he does not need such things, for he is a very proficient Pyromancer. But who is he? Who is Jester Thomas? Simple answer, we don't know. Some speculate that he might be Magerold of Lanafir, as he is the one who sells the Jester set shortly after we encountered Thomas. But I don't really subscribe to that theory personally. After all, you can defeat Magerold and still be invaded by Thomas. So does he perhaps have some relationship with the Baneful Queen? A Jester is, after all, typically found in a royal court, so that's not beyond the realm of possibility. But we have to consider that Thomas utilises Forbidden Sun, which was developed during the time of Aldia, which was almost certainly after the Baneful Queen's time. Maybe that's just coincidence though. Maybe they just wanted to give Thomas a strong pyromancy, and Forbidden Sun is very powerful. Even more so before they nerfed the hell out of it. He also uses one of the pyromancies created by Strayed, Flame Swathe, and naturally you can silence his magics and render him largely useless, if you like. And if you do that, he won't really be able to do anything against you. If we look at the Jester set, we find it says, Jesters are more than festival fixtures. Some have a second face, hidden from public view. Does this apply to Thomas? If so, what would his hidden face be? The fact that he's an accomplished pyromancer? Well, if the Baneful Queen comes from the time of the Iron King, who do we know of that utilised pyromancy from that time? Why, there's Eygil, the Iron King's pyromancer who adored fire, to the extent that he even created several pyromancies himself. Am I saying Thomas is Eygil? Not really, but I think it would make more sense than Magerold. You know, it's a theory. It would give him both cause to help us against the Queen and to invade us once we start seeking the crowns. Speaking of which, why does he invade us in Shova? Is there any connection there beyond the fact that Shova is full of poison and Earthen Peak is full of poison? Not so far as I can see, but that is the great thing about Dark Souls, isn't it? A community of millions at this point, I imagine, and collectively we can come up with more answers than any one man ever could. And speaking of the community, during the last Q&A video I asked for you to submit your questions concerning Thomas, so let's have a look at some of that stuff that got sent in. As you can see, other people have noticed the only real connection between Shova and Earthen Peak seems to be the poison. Why pyromancy? Well, what do you think? Maybe it was part of his routine? I can see that being the case. I mean, in real life you don't have pyromancy, really, but you do have, you know, fire eating, fire dancing, all things that an entertainer might do, things that a jester might be expected to do. And remember when I mentioned Eygil? One of the spells he made was Dance of Fire, pyromancy created by the Magus Eygil, loyal follower of the Old Iron King. Cast flame in a sweeping motion across a targeted area. The fire seems to dance and make its victims dance with it. Seems like it could be a good spell to entertain people, you know? They're all sitting there enjoying their, I don't know, steaks and stuff, and you're like, yeah, shooting fire around. It could be entertaining, or scary, depending on who you ask. I suppose it would be a very sneaky way of keeping a bodyguard close, wouldn't it? I mean, no one would expect the Jester, would they? Then if an assassin pops up, he just roasts them. Especially after Sir Alon's gone, maybe he needed another bodyguard. But then all of this is just speculation, especially the connection with Eygil. Perhaps Jester had no real association with the Iron King. Maybe he works for Vendrick, or Mytha, or Nishandra. Maybe he's a court jester of Dranglake. Granted, Vendrick doesn't seem too fond of magic users, Mostly the Faith kind, but you'll notice pretty much all of the Drang Lake enemies are just soldiers. They just fight with spear, sword, and lance and stuff like that. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Next time we'll be talking about Haid, I think. Until then, take care.